So before we start this review, let's talk about My Little Pony's history with Japanese culture. Note, a lot of this information is new to me since I am not an avid otaku or weeaboo. Ever since the franchise's inception with the original toy line in the 80s, the toys would then get a Japanese makeover with these variations of ponies known as the Takara ponies, since Takara was the Japanese company responsible for the foreign releases of the franchise, along with other Hasbro regulars like Transformers. But nowadays, these kind of toys rack up a ton for collectors on eBay. Jump forward to the FIM era of ponies, and we have several references to manga and anime in the show. Several animes have done parodies of MLP. Applejack is the most popular pony amongst Japanese audiences. Vocaloid idol Hatsune Miku has gotten a Pony Sona figure. There are these content creators online called VTubers, and some of them are avid and admitted bronies and Pegasisters. And of course, today's subject, the official My Little Pony manga. With licensing from Hasbro, these books were put out by 7 Seas Entertainment, who funny enough also put out a few manga based on Hatsune Miku. Now as for the story of this manga, it takes the slice of life comedy style much like the MLP FIM comics, which is perfect for the My Little Pony franchise. Now this manga consists of 3 volumes, and each volume is made up of 8 chapters, so for the sake of this review, I'll be going over the first volume. So chapter 1 involves Pinkie helping Twilight clean her library. She comes across the magical mirror from Equestria girls, and Pinkie then talks to another Pinkie. After the mirror Pinkie offers some delicious sounding treats, she wanders into the mirror but ends up in one of many infinite realities. In this case, she ends up in a zombie outbreak world similar to 28 Pranks Later. Rainbow colored mouths and hunger for cookies and everything. While Twilight and Spike tried dimension hopping in the mirror to try and find her and save her, including worlds of giants, dinosaurs, and a harem of rarities. Spike, you lucky dragon. Pinkie ends up getting saved by Dr. Hooves and his companion Derpy in their muffin-shaped TARDIS. Twilight decides she'll use a magical spell to bring her back, but she accidentally summons a plethora of Pinkies, much like too many Pinkie Pies, including the Equestria Girls Pinkie and, horrifyingly enough, G3 Pinkie Pie. Luckily, Dr. Hooves and Derpy bring their Pinkie back, and they're able to take all the other Pinkies back to their respective worlds. Chapter 2 has a story involving Pinkie Pie showing Princess Celestia around Ponyville because Twilight got herself and Spike turned into stone due to a spell that went wrong. Like the first chapter, they really like putting in humor on display, and it really works. There's plenty of references to anime, other pony stuff, and pop culture in general, from Pokemon to Stephen King's It. And even those claw games that are very popular in arcades. And apparently Celestia gets so peeved at losing this so many times, she sends it to the moon. Another thing that I really liked were the interactions between the 2 leads. It's cute seeing Pinkie and Celestia hanging out and having fun, like putting silly hats and a fake mustache on Twilight's statue form. Plus it's also fun to see Dr. Hooves and Derpy show up again at the end of the chapter. Chapter 3 is a rarity story, as she gets a letter from Celestia. She has a very important client who's coming who could potentially hook her up with a new location for a boutique. But lo and behold, the client is the Smooth, who naturally makes a mess of her shop. But with the help of Spike and Sweetie Belle, she manages to make a suit for the Blob. Also, it turns out that the letter was actually from Discord, not Celestia. I thought this was a very cute story that utilized Rarity, Spike, and Sweetie Belle's dynamics very well. They have really good chemistry, and it's sweet seeing Rarity know the task will be difficult, but she perseveres like she always does because she's a professional. Plus, the ending reveal of Discord is perfect. After Rarity begins to feel bad about not getting another boutique, Discord lives up to his promise and gives her another one. It's just that this one's upside down. It's what Discord does best, trolling ponies. On to Chapter 4, which has a very simple setup. There's a Critter Appreciation Day going on in Ponyville, and Fluttershy has to give a speech. But knowing Fluttershy, she gets stage fright and hides in her shed. Not her house, her shed. So the rest of the story is the main 6 trying to help her out. Applejack tries luring her out with food, Twilight tries explaining her phobia with a psychology book, Rainbow Dash tries breaking the door in with her head. Which is funny because that's what Lauren Faust originally wanted Applejack to do while she was apple-bucking, until the censors stepped in and said that they didn't want children recreating running headfirst into trees. Pinkie Pie tries using Angel Bunny to lure Fluttershy out while giving him a pirate voice, and so on and so forth. I really liked this chapter because it uses the main 6 to good effect, using their usual clashing personalities to try and help out their friend. Ultimately, Fluttershy compromises with her friends, and she does give the speech, but from inside her shed. So I gotta say, when they first showed Fluttershy inside of her shed, I couldn't help but be reminded of Pony.Mauve.
Hey, hey, hey. What'd I tell y'all about coming in my shed?
Chapter 5 features a story about the Apple family selling Zap Apple Jam at a fair when the Flim Flam brothers show up and try to beat them at their own game. At first it seems they don't have any apples in their barrels, but Pinky thinks that's because the apples are invisible. Of course they try using that as a sell, but it's revealed that the apples are actually crab apples, which are these apple creatures that have crab legs and claws. Flim and Flam bail while the apples hang back to take care of these creatures. What I really liked about this chapter was how it felt like an actual episode of the show. Much like the other chapters of this manga, or in the comics, you could easily imagine this being a real episode of the series. Plus, it's great to see character detail like Flim and Flam's usual con man ways, and Filthy Rich's relationship with the Apple family. And if you're wondering what happens to Flim and Flam at the end of the chapter, they end up getting some car trouble, and the crab apples end up running right back to them after Applejack offers the crowd some baked crab apples. After that, we get Chapter 6, which takes place at a flea market, and follows every brony's cross-eyed fan favorite, Derpy Hooves. As you'd expect, she bumbles around and wrecks a lot of stuff, but Rainbow Dash tries to keep her out of trouble, much like the opening to last roundup. But soon, Derpy meets up with Zecora, and she just so happens to have a monkey's paw, or here a dragon claw, that grants Derpy's wish of being able to fly like Rainbow Dash. But if you know the monkey's paw legend, something bad comes with the wish, and that is now Rainbow Dash is as clumsy as Derpy was. Of course, things get fixed, but I just gotta say, it's a very funny way of how they do it. After Zecora says there's only one thing that could fix this, being a mythical dragon's foot, and after Rainbow wonders if they'll ever find it, Derpy finds it right away. The thing that made this chapter really great was seeing Derpy in a full-on speaking role. As you'd expect, she's super precious, and I liked seeing her and Rainbow Dash's friendship. Plus, the ending with them handing out apology muffins to say sorry for wrecking the flea market is cute. Chapter 7 involves a character who was featured in a previous chapter and will later become a reoccurring character, Star Dancer. After sneaking into a scary movie, the Cutie Mark Crusaders suspect that this Star Dancer is a space alien bent on invasion, all thanks to Pinkie Pie joking about how she's from space. So basically, the CMCs start following her around until she ends up inviting them over to her house, where they figure out that she's just a normal pony. But like most stories that follow this format, there's obviously a twist. Star Dancer isn't an alien, she's a time traveler from the future! Now some people might say that this story was cliché or obvious, but I really liked it. This was a very entertaining play on the story, mainly because I liked seeing this new character get some development. Star Dancer only shows up very briefly in Chapter 2, but I liked the characterization she got here. Plus, I think future Media Wiz would approve of there being a time-traveling pony. They even call her Future Pony! Also, like the rest of the manga, there are plenty of references to other media that are very cute. So far we come to the 8th and final chapter of Volume 1, and this is probably my favorite one, along with the rest of the manga. This is the chapter that basically serves as one big spoof on Japanese anime and cinema. After Pinkie Pie breaks the fourth wall on how everybody's been looking different, monochromatic and all, Discord takes advantage of this and turns everything into a full-fledged manga. Applejack and her family become ninjas who are searching for a chosen one. You know, kind of like Kabuto. While the others turn into stereotypical Japanese school fillies. Rainbow Dash is the sporty jock, Rarity is the student council president, Fluttershy is the cute shy girl every boy has a thing for, Pinkie Pie is Pinkie Pie, and of course the chosen one is Magical Pony Sparkle Twilight, which is basically Twilight if she was like Serena from Hamburger Moon. Complete with her being late and having to run to school with toast in her mouth. Once Spikezilla, which is Spike turned into a Godzilla parody, starts attacking the city, Twilight uses a magical artifact, which is the Twilocane, and gains magical girl abilities. But she's not in it alone. Her friends join in and they become one big giant Megazord. Ultimately, Celestia tells Discord to stop as we end on the gang eating sushi. Because hey, if the Powerpuff Girls can use chopsticks with no fingers, so can ponies. Heck, if the Powerpuffs can get a shortly lived anime, My Little Pony can get a manga, darn it! And that was Volume 1 of My Little Pony the Manga, A Day in the Life of Equestria. Overall, this was extremely entertaining. The art style is very unique and captures the look of the show while also maintaining a very anime look, especially with the way they do the faces. They're so precious and kawaii. I also like the stories that they had in each of the chapters. Making this a slice-of-life comedy was the perfect route to go for an MLP manga, since that's pretty much what a lot of the episodes of the show and a lot of the comics here in the West are like. The humor has plenty of fun little references to anime and pop culture in general, but just like the MLP show and the comics, I also think that a lot of the humor came from from the character interactions and the dialogue. Like I said earlier, I think that the whole slice of life comedy angle was the perfect move for an MLP manga. I could easily see the stories that are in this manga being episodes of the show, and I think that in that regard, they did a really good job transferring the show into a manga format. And heck, this was only volume 1. There's still 2 more volumes that we could talk about, but those are more pony reviews for another time. Until next time, guys, watashi wa Pony Fanboy desu, watashi wa Pony no Fanboy, so sashite anata wa tadikiku.
I get up, look around, life is good, I'm surrounded by manga. My wife who has a ahagao, and my wife's a pillow, send $1 to Belle, I'm cool. Then I watch Pokemon and Afro Samurai, Full Metal Alchemist, swear to God it's not porn. Play my Yu-Gi-Oh cards, yeah I got 'em at Target, yo. Yu-Gi-Oh! So put that jab shit on everybody.
Thank you, Catherine, for sending this manga to me. I really appreciate it. You the best.